Hey everyone, in this tutorial we're going to see how to cross-compile Go applications so that way they work on a Raspberry Pi. So why might you want to do that? Why might you want to do this? Well, for one, it's probably not the best idea to do development directly on the Raspberry Pi, especially if you're using it in headless mode like I am most of the time. So that's without a TV or monitor. Because it's probably best to develop on a host machine, maybe Windows, Mac, Linux, and then transfer whatever you've built over to the Raspberry Pi. The problem with this is that your applications get compiled into the native architecture and operating system requirements. So what we have to do is we have to cross-compile, and that's actually not difficult to do with Go. So we're gonna see how to develop a sample application. So on my screen here, I am connected through SSH to a Raspberry Pi 0W. It doesn't really matter what type of Raspberry Pi it is, as long as that you can connect to it in some fashion to get the files over. So I am going to open up another tab in my terminal, and I'm going to navigate into my Go path. And I'm going to create a new project directory. I'm going to call it CC for Cross Compile Project. And I'm going to navigate into it. Now inside of this project, I'm going to create a new file. I'm going to say touch main.go. You can really call it whatever you want, but this is where all of our code is going to go. And it's actually going to be a very simple project. I'm going to show you what everything looks like. So I'm going to say, let's open that project in my editor. I'm using Atom. It doesn't really matter what you use. Just note that I do have plugins installed for Atom that will help me when it comes to autofilling a lot of this Go stuff. So let's go ahead and say package main. We'll say function main, and we're going to say fmt print line, and I'm going to say hello world. So very simple example, and I'm going to hit save. Now ideally what we're going to do is first we're going to run this on my Mac. We're going to try to transfer it over to the Raspberry Pi and see what happens. So before I even build it, I'm going to say go run *go. It said hello world, so I'm going to say go build. What that did is it created a CC project binary, which if I wanted to, I could say CC project. Oh, let's go ahead and give it execute privilege. So I'm going to try that again, CC project. Didn't work still. Let's see what's going on. Hello world. So somewhere along the lines, I was typing something incorrectly, which is fine. It worked now. That was very weird, but it worked. I was able to run that binary. So let's go ahead and transfer that to the Raspberry Pi. I'm going to say SCP. I'm going to say CC project, and I'm going to transfer it to Pi as the username, and then raspberry.local is the host name. You can use your IP address if you wanted to, and I'm going to use the home directory for that user, the Pi user. So that's not going to work because that's not the correct host name. So it's Raspberry Pi is the host name. Raspberry is the password because I'm just using the defaults. I've copied it over, and I go back to my Raspberry Pi terminal, and I'm going to look to make sure it's there. And it is there. I'm going to try to run it, CC project. Cannot execute binary file. So it's telling me this because I compiled it for Mac, not for the ARM Linux architecture that my Raspberry Pi 0W is using. So we can fix that easily. So first of all, and I realize now why it didn't work previously, because CC, I did underscore where it's supposed to be hyphen. But let's go ahead and first remove CC project, get rid of all trace of it. So we have main go, and we're going to compile it for the Raspberry Pi's requirements. So we're going to say env. We're going to say the Go OS is going to be Linux. We're going to say the Go architecture is going to be ARM. And we're going to say the Go ARM version is going to be 5. And then we're going to say go build. So what's going to happen is it's going to pass in these environment variables into our Go build. And that's going to tell our Go build to build for this particular setup. So I'm going to run it. It created a CC project. I'm going to try to run it on my Mac. CC project cannot execute binary file, which is what we expect. So I'm going to say scp cc project. I'm going to say pi at raspberrypi.local, again in my home directory. Type in my password, and I'm going to go back to my Raspberry Pi. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to say cc project, and there you go. It says hello world. So this should work for pretty much anything. I haven't run into a scenario where I wasn't able to cross-compile something. So if you're using any kind of external packages, for the most part, from what I've experienced, it works fine. But you're not limited to just creating binaries for Raspberry Pi. You can create binaries for maybe Mac to Windows, Mac to Linux, or any other direction. It doesn't really matter. But it's very easy with Go in comparison to what you might do with C or something similar.